Hello and welcome to this edition of The Week in the Americas. Coming up in this program, will elections be able to go ahead in quake-ravaged Haiti, which is also now dealing with a devastating cholera epidemic? A look at Canada's longest-running media dispute, resulting in journalists setting up their own news website. And American travellers have had enough. The use of full-body scanners at airports has sparked a national protest. But first to our top story. Growing political violence and a raging cholera epidemic spreading faster than expected are prompting calls to delay this weekend's elections in post-quake Haiti. Haiti is now battling a spiralling cholera epidemic that's killed more than 1,400 people and infected thousands of others. Yet despite all of this, the election campaign is in full swing.
These Port-au-Prince residents have been queuing since 3 a.m. to get the new ID cards they'll need to vote in Haiti's upcoming elections. They lost the originals during last January's devastating earthquake.
I've come here 4 times and I'm given a new appointment each time. I really hope that today's the last time and that I'll be able to participate in the elections.
When the doors finally open at 9 a.m, the first arrivals are slowly allowed to trickle in. But after a few minutes, the doors are closed on the rest of the crowd. Inside, there are only 3 officials authorized to distribute ID cards. To prove their identity, many people are using whatever documentation they salvaged from the rubble. This ailing woman didn't have the strength to make it through the crowd. A spokesperson for the National Identification Office recognizes the limitations of the current system.
Haiti has had so many obligations this year, and that means our budget is very small. That's why we can't have more people assisting us with the operations here.
10 months after the earthquake, questions are being raised about Haiti's capability of hosting presidential and legislative elections. It's rare to find a rebuilt house on the streets of Port-au-Prince, and no major reconstruction projects have yet begun. More than 1 million people continue to live in makeshift camps. Fan Israel is amongst them.
Voting, that's the only thing we can do to help this country.
And do you have your voter registration card?
I'm going to vote with my wife's card. I lost mine in the rubble.
The lack of organization means there's a higher risk of irregularities during the election. To aid the authorities, some civic groups have stepped in to act as observers and to monitor voting. They want to ensure that no single candidate benefits from the chaos on election day.
I promise to abide by the rules.
When the ruling party is participating in elections in a country like Haiti, you have to be cautious. We don't have a tradition of free, honest or democratic elections in this country.
Despite the difficulties, the administration here is determined to stick to the election timetable fixed by the constitution. It also wants to meet the demands of the donor countries who provided Haiti 20 million euros to organize these elections.
To Washington now, where US President Barack Obama is set for a confrontation with Senate Republicans in a make-or-break battle over an arms reduction treaty with Russia. The American leader is daring Republicans to block the treaty at the risk of disrupting relations with Russia and the international coalition that opposes Iran's nuclear program. It's a risky move because if he fails, it could reinforce the perception at both home and abroad that he's a weakened president.
6.
A little girl playing with a daisy.
10, 9, 8, 7,
and a mushroom cloud. In 1964, Lyndon Johnson used a similar video for his presidential campaign. Today, a liberal religious group has remade the famous ad. Their goal is to push for the ratification of a new arms treaty with Russia. The New START treaty was signed by Barack Obama and Dmitry Medvedev back in April. The 2 key points: reducing deployed nuclear warheads by 30% to about 1,500, and reinstating mutual monitoring.
The work of many people aimed at easing tensions and restarting the relations, all of that would be in vain. That's why I hope that US legislators will demonstrate a responsible approach.
Instead, the START treaty has turned into a showdown between Obama and Senate Republicans who say they want more time to study the treaty. More time also means a better control of the vote. Treaties require approval by 2/3 of the Senate or 67 votes. The Democrats have a 59-41 majority, meaning they need 8 Republicans to ratify the treaty. When the newly elected senators take office, the Democrats will need 14 Republican votes. The first START treaty was negotiated by Ronald Reagan and signed in 1991 by George Bush Sr., both Republican presidents. Obama has surrounded himself with former secretaries of state and defense from both parties, all in favor of the treaty. And to drive the point home, both Obama and Hillary Clinton turned to Ronald Reagan's famous 3 words.
Trust but verify.
Trust but verify. This is not about politics. It's about national security. Every month that goes by without a treaty means that we are not able to verify what's going on the ground in Russia.
Failure to ratify the treaty could also jeopardize the trust. U.S.-Russia ties have improved since Obama took office, but this reset could suffer from such a setback. And the U.S. still need Russia's help on important issues such as Iran and Afghanistan. Obama has made START a top foreign policy initiative. If he succeeds, he will prove his strength after the midterms debacle. If he fails, he will reinforce the perception that he's a weakened president, both at home and abroad.
Almost 2 years ago, they were locked out of their Montreal newsroom in what has become the longest-running media dispute in Canadian history. Journalists from Le Journal de Montreal had refused to accept new working conditions, but now they've had the ultimate revenge. They've set up a rival news outlet that's becoming a serious competitor.
Banned from entering the headquarters of the Journal de Montréal. Journalists therefore decided to set camp 100 meters away. That's where they created Rue Frontenac, an independent news website. Under Canadian law, a manager is allowed to oust employees who refuse new working conditions. It's called a lockout. In this case, the newspaper owner wanted to cut jobs and give journalists less holidays.
Note that the crisis in the media industry is less important in Quebec than anywhere else in the world, because we're isolated. There's 7 million francophones in a restricted market. The Journal de Montréal was doing well with an annual $45 million profit. That's why we believe the concessions they were demanding were not justified.
Locked out reporters named their website Rue Frontenac after the street where the newspaper is based. Its owner, the powerful group Quebecer, has refused to comment on the issue, let alone film the headquarters.
Did you get an authorization to shoot?
The conflict has lasted nearly 2 years, affecting 253 journalists. For the locals, it's unbelievable.
I'm surprised the paper's still published, that people buy it.
The owner of the paper is so stubborn, he doesn't want to hear anything, and most people don't support him. It's great that these journalists created a new newspaper of their own.
The website has recently launched a print version, financed by the profits made on the internet. Its 4th edition was printed here, in the suburbs of Montreal.
We've been working separately for 21 months, and now we're proving to everyone that we are capable of producing great quality journalism.
For its creators, Rue Frontenac doesn't represent rebellion, but independence. It's also provided jobs to journalists who have no intention of returning to the Journal de Montréal.
In a controversial move, Panama has granted political asylum to the former head of Colombia's secret police. Maria del Pilar Hurtado is wanted over illegal wiretapping operations that could implicate Colombia's previous president, Álvaro Uribe. She says her life is in danger, but the move has angered Colombian officials who say the ex-security chief is abusing the notion of political asylum. Enough is enough, also say US travellers. They're angry at now being subjected to full-body scanners, which they say amounts to a virtual strip search. As a result, a group of travellers are staging a national boycott this Thanksgiving weekend, recommending people instead submit to a full pat-down, which takes much longer. It's a move that is expected to cause even more delays at one of the busiest travel times in the year.
It takes just a few seconds for these body scanners to see right through your clothes.
If you refuse, officers conduct an intense pat-down search from head to foot. No body part is missed. Though these new measures are strongly criticised by travellers, they're rarely refused.
Anything that's going to keep us safe and keep my family safe, I'm okay with.
A marginal improvement is worth the extra trouble.
2/3 of Americans approve of the use of scanners. However, there are still some who object to the pat-down searches. Just a few weeks ago, an American traveller secretly filmed the security checks at San Diego Airport.
We could do that out here, but if you touch my junk, I'm going to have you arrested.
If you're not comfortable with that, we can escort you back out and you don't have to fly today.
Okay, I don't understand how a sexual assault can be made a condition of my flying.
This is not considered a sexual assault.
This video travelled the internet and was praised by those opposed to the body searches for passengers and crew.
Sexual assault survivors who say it brings back the entire experience to them. Senior citizens who fear that they're going to be groped again and again because they have a hip replacement, so they're always going to set the machine off and always face these aggressive pat-downs.
In 2002, the Bush administration tried to screen passengers based on their level of risk, calculated from data obtained from bank accounts and legal records. Due to privacy protection, it remained an idea. However, it could return if people continue to object to the body scanners. But for now, if you still want to fly and avoid revealing too much under the camera, an ideal Christmas present could be underwear that blocks X-rays. A guaranteed success for those going through the scanners.
And that wraps up this edition of The Week in the Americas. See you next week, and bye for now.